Hey guys, what's up? It's Aurelius here, and I'm bringing you another video. Today we're going to be looking at another PragerU video. This video is called the American Trinity. So let's see. Let's learn about America from PragerU. Oh boy. Prager University. American Trinity. Lecturer Dennis Prager. Political science. Oh man. Let's see.
All countries
Oh, this is awesome, man. I love this already. Hold on, let me turn it up.
are unique. They are because of their ethnicity or their race or language or culture or geography. But America is unique for a different reason,
Okay.
because of its value system.
Okay.
Now, please understand that this in no way means or implies that Americans are necessarily better than anyone else. There are kind and good people in every nation, and there are bad people in America, as there are everywhere else. But these values have molded a particularly decent and open society, and one that has at great sacrifice promoted liberty around the world more than any other country in history.
Okay.
This unique value system has made the American experiment in building a free, open, affluent, non-race-based, non-ethnicity-based society the greatest social experiment in world history. The name I give to the American value system is the American Trinity. Now, it's not to be confused in any way with the Christian Trinity. That's a theological statement of Christianity. The American Trinity consists of the three core American values. Now, I discovered the American Trinity looking at a coin one night as I emptied my pockets. These three values have been staring me in the face all my life, emblazoned on every American coin.
American mysticism.
Yet I had completely missed their significance. They are E pluribus unum, in God we trust, and liberty.
Okay.
E pluribus unum is Latin for from many one, meaning that Americans don't care where you're from. We don't care about your blood origins, your ethnic origins, your racial origins, your religious origins. From many one. When you become an American, you are one of us. No.
Absolutely false. Ridiculous and insanely ahistorical. That is just not true through American history. At all. What are you talking about? I mean, the generally, and throughout all of American history, very easily America has had pretty strict, like racial castes. Not exactly codified by law in the last last 60, 70 years more, right? But people who are regarded as white, and this is a definition that has changed over time. I mean, of course, infamously, back in the day, the Irish and the Italians and Jewish people weren't regarded as white in the United States, and now they almost certainly are, unless you're, I don't know, like a Nazi or something, right? Those groups, for example, even when they had American citizenship, were not really regarded as true Americans or, in the same league as WASPs and stuff, right? To claim that, I mean, not to mention, of course, the oppression of African Americans. I mean, obviously, a very obvious repudiation of this idea that, oh yeah, once you're regarded as, we're regarded as, we're all the same, we're all Americans. No, this has not been true throughout history. I mean, perhaps now it's a little more true than it used to be, although, I mean, the recent, the way, over the last 20 years, the wave of, how Muslims in America became essentially went from being just kind of like a bit of a treated as like a bit of an oddity more, and just as a smaller religious group that in fact were emerging as part of the Republican coalition up in the 2000 election, which is kind of interesting. But they went from being that to being a minority overnight after 9/11, right? Persecution that they essentially suffered, not only in culture, right, but if through over a disproportionate use of government force and surveillance against them and stuff like that. There are tons of examples where people who are Americans in terms of citizenship and who have been there for a while and stuff like that are not treated the same and are not treated equally. This is not true historically or right now, the way that he's presenting it.
No different than an American whose ancestors came to America hundreds of years ago. This is not as true elsewhere.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but it's also not really true in America.
If, for example, you're Turkish and you emigrate to Europe, you will likely be regarded as a Turk for generations. You are not considered a fellow German or a fellow Swede or a fellow Dane nearly as much as somebody from Turkey would be considered an American within a day of becoming an American citizen.
No, it depends, again, on what kind of person you are. For a lot of people, this is true, but it mostly depends on like whether you're like where you are on that like racial hierarchy, right?
The second value of the American Trinity, in God we trust, means that America is founded on the idea that God is the source of value.
Oh,
America's
great.
Declaration of Independence.
You know, one of the only one of the good things about, like, if it were properly enforced about the American system would be the separation of church and state, right? But of course, Prager absolutely rejects that.
Independence proclaimed that humans have inalienable rights, but solely because these rights come from the Creator, not from a king or a government or even from reason. Therefore, since they come from God, they can never be taken away by people. What God are we talking about? The one introduced by the Hebrew Bible, the God of the Ten Commandments, the God who judges all nations and all individuals, and the God to whom all citizens, all people, must feel morally accountable for their actions. And the third part of the American Trinity is liberty.
Liberty.
Now
Oh,
you
boy.
might ask, didn't the French Revolution proclaim liberty along with equality and fraternity?
The French
And
Trinity.
don't other nations hold liberty as a basic value? Well, the answer is yes. Americans are not the only ones to enshrine liberty, but we are the only ones to enshrine liberty along with E pluribus unum and In God We Trust. Also, the American concept of liberty is not the same as the French, for example, because the French enshrined equality as well as liberty, and equality is not part of the American Trinity. That's a European value.
It's not right.
Of course, America affirms that all humans are born equal, and that we are all to be equal before the law. But ending up equal, the European value,
It's
egalitarianism,
not, okay.
is not an American
How is that a European value?
value. Why? Because enforcing equal outcomes diminishes liberty, and America is preoccupied with liberty.
Oh, God.
America is preoccupied with enabling you to have the liberty to end up wherever your talent, hard work, and yes, luck take you. If some people end up much wealthier than others and have attained their wealth honestly, that inequality is a pretty small price to pay to ensure liberty. That's the American.
I mean, except when people who are on the bottom end of that inequality can't do anything. And that's a lot of people. And they're deprived of a great deal of liberty when that doesn't, I mean, you know, quality of outcome, you know, yeah, that's not great. But, you know, there's no equality of opportunity even. I mean, that's just not true at all in the United States, you know. And you know, that could be reduced if, yeah, there were, like, I mean, Nordic style perhaps, like welfare states and stuff like that. If there was better investment in like public education apparatuses, if there was less of a focus on like being punitive in American society and culture, right? Particularly when it comes to things like the justice system and all these other, like there's a lot of ways in which you could create a much greater, you know, opportunities for everyone in society, right? Equality of opportunity. That simply they don't do in America, right? And so that whole thing of like, oh, everyone's equal under the law, everyone's, I mean, sure, but that doesn't really matter as much when there is this vast gulf in the opportunities that people have access to, right? And that inequality does stifle liberty and freedom to a great extent, a great deal.
American Trinity, from many one, liberty, and God. And like the Christian Trinity, you cannot remove any one of the three. Because if you do, you will no longer have America.
Okay.
I'm Dennis Prager.
That
Would
was
you like to
such a
see
long one at the end there.
more
All right.
courses like this one? Donate.
Donate.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And visit PragerUniversity.com.
Nice. That's awesome. God, let's see the comments. Wipes tier. America. Okay. Thank God that the majority of people in America are realizing these simple truths. Okay. The most emotional PragerU video I've ever watched. Yeah, man, I'm crying right now. So beautiful. I think you can also make a good case for England, and I think it came out of some of the conditions similar to what happened in America. England just kept getting invaded, so group after group got stacked on top of one another, and because it was at the edge of things, it never held as part of a continuous hegemony. What? Pretty soon you had a country composed of a ton of different subcultures with very different backgrounds, and a lot of British ideas and British people went into forming the US. We're very much the child of Britain. We wouldn't be what we are without them. It's the motherland, but America is the bold and experimental wild child that made a new start and fought with its parents. In the end, we earned our parents' respect and became friends again, and we came back and helped save them. It's good to have family. Hopefully we will keep learning and growing and helping one another for centuries to come. Man, I really love that this is some people's conceptualization of history. That's so awesome, dude. That's a lot of people genuinely view history, geopolitics, all these things through this lens of this like bizarre, emotive. You know, it's kind of like it's a very easy way to tell if someone's coming from the perspective of being like a brainlet and just not a terribly intelligent person. If the way that they regard concepts and they regard things in the world is as something that is emotionally unique. It is not that a thing is. It is not that America is a nation state and very large geopolitical power that it's because that's what I would regard America as, right? It's that America is this emotional idea, right? And and that the United Kingdom is as well, and that it's this unique, like spiritually unique thing, right? And it's like, no, it's not. America and the United Kingdom are both like nation states that are, well, I mean, whether America is a nation state or not, I guess, is a bit complicated. But they're states that are the result of a whole variety of historical, economic, and geopolitical factors and geographic factors, geopolitical, whatever, that come together to form a thing. But it's not emotionally like unique, and that can't be how you view history. That can't be how you view these things, or else you're gonna have a very dim and very minute understanding of these things, right? Whatever. And you see that a lot. I don't mean to just dunk on some random YouTube commenter. This is a sentiment that you see a lot, and a way that people think of the world that you see a lot. Freedom and free will is a concept that does not compute in feminism 2015. Wow. Crazy. Oh boy. Let's see. That's literally why feminism exists? No. That's why it existed in the 80s. Today, it is fully endorsing female supremacy under a guise of European, no less, equality. What? Modern feminism actually doesn't fight for equal rights between men and women. Rather, they focus on the nebulous term empowerment, which means it's okay to treat some so-called oppressors like trash. Okay. Walk around as a black man and condemn you with makeup for one day and then come back and tell us American society is not race-based. Yeah, true. Okay, boring. Anyway, yeah, so that's that video. Oh boy, PragerU. What a meme. Let's see. So if you enjoyed that, like, subscribe, whatever. Now I've been trying, doing just I'm gonna be trying a mix of like how many of the PragerU videos I do in a single one. But yeah, so that was the American Trinity. Next time we're gonna look at is evil rational. That's gonna be interesting. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, thanks. I was Aurelius. Have a good one. Bye bye.